I would be the first to admit that regulation is important when it comes to these matters. But my reflection is that are we not overdoing the stuff? Once we have one scheme, for example, certified woods, it seems that everybody in the market who knows something about trees wants to pick a grain in the market. And, you have millions, well, not millions, but dozens of people that try to invent a new certification scheme, and at the end we end up with 30, 40 different certification schemes. So are we not overdoing this stuff? And the reason why I'm asking this is that the paper industry uses 10% of the wood that is produced in Europe, only 10%, while, for example, 30% of the wood is used in our fireplaces at home. Do we ever ask the question whether the wood that we chuck in the fireplace, is that certified wood?
Shall I answer that first? I think what PREPS is definitely not trying to do is create another forest certification scheme or any other certification scheme. We are trying to take quite a lot of complicated information and put it in a way that our members can understand. So, but what we want to do, and what our members are keen to do, is to look beyond just the forest label, certification label, and see what sources are actually there, because that's important for them when they're making their decisions. In terms of paper and pulp and its contribution, I think something like 45% of the world's round wood harvesting goes into the pulp and paper industry. So certainly in Europe that figure may change, but globally, you have a very important impact on forests around the world. So it is very important that the publishing industry looks at this. But yeah, I would say definitely we don't need another forest certification scheme. We've got two competing ones already. It would be great if there could be more harmony between those two schemes.
Yeah, I agree with Neil. We are not about to create any other new certification scheme. And our tool, it's free of cost to anyone. So all you need to do is just to click panda.org and go and find the papers there.
When I remember the discussion we had in IRSI in May a couple of months ago, I had the impression that quite a lot of people there complained, I would say, in a way, that it is difficult to get good and reliable data about the paper. So I think these are three different systems to deliver data for the people deciding about paper resources in their books. And I have the impression that the paper industry and the publishing industry is quite under supervision by media and talking about paper. Where does it come from? So we had the discussion last year about tropical rainforest fiber in children books. So that shows that there is quite concern about the resources. So we thought to help everybody, so put it up here and see the differences. So I would like to ask the auditorium if there are other questions to the three different systems. So maybe we concentrate for the last 10 minutes on the advantages or problems of each system. I think there are, or there might be questions, if there is any from the auditorium. Any questions to our three speakers? If not, I have one more, because you mentioned twice your system. Yeah.
Can I just comment one figure that you just said? I think there's no question the paper industry has a massive impact and is a substantial user of wood. But we need to be very good with that figures that we throw out into the public. And if you look into the FAO database, the share of wood that is used by the paper industry globally is 17%, 17%, and 6% of that is actually wood chips, which is coming from other processes, from sawmills, for example. So we are secondary processes. So I think we should be very fair and very correct with that data, because it's giving a wrong impression. I mean, I have no question that there's no question that we are substantial use of wood. That is absolute out of doubt. But biomass has seen a substantial renaissance, and for us, to be honest, it is a threat. For Europe, it seems that we did our homework. The paper industry has done forestry certification and all kinds of environmental certification. You've seen it. ISO 14001 and even EMAS is very common among the paper industry. But biomass, nobody seems to care. Whatever burns is used. And it is, from the supply side, a massive impact for us as a paper industry.
Thank you. If I have a look on the watch, I will maybe ask a last questions to everybody to make a last statement. Maybe you can talk what you want to proceed with your system, if you can say how do you want to do that in the next, let's say, 1 or 2 years? Where do you want to go if you want to develop your system, if you have wishes to paper buyers or whatever? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing we want to do this year is to finish our consultation with the paper mill organisations around the world and the paper mills themselves to identify what will be the most useful water figure for us to start to gather and how to map that against water scarcity. And we're talking to people like the Water Footprinting Network to help us do that. As I said, we've also want to introduce new levels of rigour to our verification process. We're constantly reviewing that and constantly updating that. And we are constantly sort of putting the hand out and talking to other schemes and other stakeholders and talking at events like this. I don't want you to think that we've maybe got 3 competing schemes here. I think that's not the case. I think we're all trying to do the same thing. And in fact, as we're developing the water component of our tool, we are talking to SEPI in a big way. And SAPI, I think you contributed towards our stakeholder process. We've contributed to WWF's tool, Harry Karjalainen, when he was putting that together. So what we want to do is to gather information, kind of uniform information. We don't want to suddenly come up with new indicators. So I think that will be what we'll be focusing on this year, building those bridges and making sure that what we're asking from the mills is the right information and is out there. They can give this to us because they're already gathering this for other tools.
Yeah, our immediate goal is, as this is a new tool, is to launch this to paper buyers next year and make it well known across the European paper sector. And in 2 years, we want to make it well known globally as well, as it's designed as a global paper tool.
Well, Paper Profile is global already. However, it was invented in Europe and it's owned by a Finnish entity. It has been dynamic. There have been changes, but there is one part of the paper profile which seems to be very powerful, and that is the one-page information. So everything is provided on one page. It is not the end of the road. So there are ideas to translate customer requests and also pick them up and report on the paper profile. I can tell you, however, it's not a very easy process because there are very many paper manufacturers involved, and you have to come to an agreement, which is not always easy. There are different ideas within the different companies, of course.
Thank you very much, Jens, Neil, Anna. I hope we could manage to give you some information today about these 3 different systems. If you are interested in discuss with us a little bit more, SAPI invited us to the stand just beside this one, so we might meet there and maybe talk personally a little bit further on. And I want to mention there's another discussion about green publishing in the Börsenverein at 3:30, so in the next half hour. So I think there have been about 3 discussions about the sources of paper and fibers in our paper on this book fair. So I hope everybody takes a little bit home from this. You have found some brochures. Thank you very much for coming.